Hi everyone. What I thought we'd do today is have a little look at contextualizing your drawings. What I mean by that is giving your drawings a sense of environment and space and make it clear what the intention behind them is. Now in front of you I've got some drawings which I've just taken off the internet of these kind of random organic blob-like forms. Now this is a perfectly valid sort of response to maybe one of the designers you've been looking at or some primary observation you've done. Okay, especially in the initial stages of your project, just thinking about exploring form and shape is really important. So this is quite a nice example of just some shape exploration where there's a range of different designs, but they all sort of keep the same essence and DNA. And that might be the DNA you've extracted from a design you've looked at. It may be the kind of DNA, the idea behind some primary observation you've done or some secondary research you've done or response from your mood board. But what these sketches don't do is convey the kind of topic of our project at all. For example, these could be a range of sketches which are architectural. They may be ideas for a piece of furniture. They may be an idea for pieces of jewellery. And what I thought I'd do with you today is just show you how you can do some little things, make some little tweaks to your design to give it a sense of context, give it that sense that it is a piece of jewellery or it is a piece of architecture. So I thought we'd just look at some of those along with looking at some skills in Photoshop that you might adopt. So looking at my drawings that I've got here, I'm going to select this one on the right hand side. I quite like it, so I thought let's have a little play with it and see what we can do. The first thing I'm going to do is try and give it a sense of it being an item of jewellery, for example, and how you might do that. You don't want to do it with every one of your drawings, but maybe with just one or two, you could be helping to show it's a necklace form, it's a brooch, it's a ring. And we're just going to have a little look at a couple of skills that you can do with that. And then we're going to go on to look at things we might do to give them a sense of scale or to give them a sense of being something more architectural. So the first tool I'm going to use just on the left hand side is the polygonal lasso tool. It's just the easiest selection tool to use to chop something out. So I'm just going to chop around this really roughly. Don't worry about doing it very neatly, but I just want to select just this without any of the other information. So I'm just clicking, dragging my mouse, clicking, dragging my mouse to get a selection. When we get back to the beginning, just click on your start point and you should get this little selection area around the outside. So I'm just going to copy and paste it, Command C. And over here I have got an image, again, I've just taken off the internet, of just a necklace. Maybe the sort of necklace, the sort of hang and depth I was thinking that this could work at for a piece of jewellery design. The first thing you notice, and I really struggled actually to find a decent image of just a thin necklace where I've got a bit of space to put my design, but this has got this pendant in it and I just want to remove that. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is just go to my polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to zoom in nice and close and I'm just going to chop around it, again really roughly, but just try and get as little other detail in it as possible. And we're going to use a tool called the content aware tool to begin with. What that does is it adds a kind of, it guesses what would be behind the object you've selected and tries to remove it. So I'm just going to go around there like so. I'm going to keep those jump rings in. Now I've got it selected, again with the polygonal lasso, I'm just going to hit the delete key on my keyboard or the backspace key. Just make sure at the top where it says contents, it says content aware and click OK. So here you can see it's just made a guess at what the texture behind it would look like. With some things it works really well, others not so well. So this isn't bad, okay? It's not bad, it's not perfect. We've still got some other shapes in. We are going to be putting something over the top, but we'll neaten it up anyway. Over on the left hand side, we've got this plaster tool. It's known as the spot healing brush tool. Okay, it gives you a little example in the video there of how it works. Do make sure you've got that one selected, not the healing brush tool. That is different, so it's a spot healing brush tool. And I'm now just going to go in and just rub over some of the areas where I've got something that I don't want. Okay, so I'm just going to go in there. And now that's not looking too bad. If you can see on your screens, it's still a bit dark around here. It almost looks like she's got a bruise where the necklace was. So if I was being really pedantic, I want to do this really well, I'd probably go in with something like the patch tool now, and where you just draw little selection areas, drag across, and it will replace those skin tones. Okay, so bring that in, hopefully lighten them up. Just doing a little bit at a time. You're just scribbling a shape and pulling it out of the way and just trying to pull in some other textures there. So that's looking a bit better already. Now, I've got copied over from here the shape, so let's paste it in. Just going to press Command V, paste it in. Now you'll see it's obviously much bigger than the image that I've got here, so I'm just going to scale it down. If you can't find the controls there, it's probably because Show Transform controls are not selected at the top. So just make sure you've got that selected, and then you can scale it down. So just grab the corner and it will scale down proportionally like so. So I'm going to scale it down something like that. When I'm happy, just hit the Enter key. I'm now going to rotate it round. I think it looks better if it were to hang, something like that. And I'll bring it down there like so. Next, I'm going to just zoom in again. You can see that I've got this horrible white area around the outside. Because I could go in with the eraser tool over here and just try rubbing it out. Make sure I'm on layer 1, which is the layer which I've got this object on. So I could go in and scrub it out, but because I've got these nice black lines here, they're kind of enclosed shapes, I can just use my magic wand tool at the top over here, so just down there. Probably will come up with quick selection tool, but if you go to magic wand tool, if I just select that white area there, hit the delete key, it should just remove all the bits that I don't want. So I might now then place that something like there. So instantly I've contextualized that, initial quick drawing into a necklace. So I might scale it down a little bit. If you press the Shift key when you're scaling it, you can even change the proportion. So I could squish it or pull it. And there's various other things we'll look at later in terms of how you can manipulate your drawings. What I thought would be quite nice is actually on this necklace, it feels a little bit bland for there just being one. And one of the advantages of using Photoshop or digital software to manipulate things is we have the ability to copy and paste very easily. So I might just do that and try and create a little trio of these pendants. So I'm just going to press my Alt key on my keyboard, press and hold that, and you just drag a copy off. I might drag another copy off. Well, I think the best thing to do at this stage is if you just go to Image and Duplicate. I won't do it, but if you do that, then you can get multiple outcomes from just one design. So you could show it with a single pendant, you could show it with these 3 here. This one looks a little bit funny, they all look a bit the same, so what I might do is just flip it over. I like the idea of it curving the other way. So if I go at the top of my screen, which will just be off where I'm recording, if you just go to Image at the top, Edit, go to Transform, and if you just go to Flip Horizontal at the bottom there, okay, it flips that design over. Next, if I'm being really pedantic, I've got this nice jump ring and things on here, and I might just want to copy it across. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my background layer. A new tool we're going to have a quick look at is the clone brush tool. So it's this one here. Make sure it's not this one with the little checkered flag in the corner and the pattern stamp. You want the clone stamp tool. So how this works is you need to be able to press your Alt or your Option key on your keyboard. If I then press that and hold it, you can see my cursor's changing. If I click on an area then with my mouse, and I then start scribbling, you can see it copies an area across. So this is quite a good way if you wanted to put a second chain in, for example. But what we're going to do is I want to just copy this area across here. So I'm going to press my Option key, and I'm going to click on this ball bearing there, and then I'm going to do it again up here. I'm just going to then align it. So you can see with my brush, it's copying that area. So, and you can see a little cross where it's copying. So you select that ball bearing, you could go over here, and then all I'm going to do is start trying to copy some of the detail of that jump ring and things across like so. So get something like that. I've got a little bit of extra detail in there that I don't want. And again, this is not going to be perfect. You know, it's just to give a little gist of you thinking about how things might be connected or how things might go together. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Again, just going back. I've lost my mouse. Going back to the clone stamp tool. Just going to copy this bit here. Select that. And copy over on here. Oh, it's not painting because I'm not on my background layer, so make sure you're on your background layer. Otherwise, it thinks it's copying a blank area. And again, I'm just going to copy some of that detail over there, like so. I've got a couple of bits I don't want, so I might just, you know, copy this skin area over now. But the clone stamp tool is a brilliant tool. Okay, so this isn't perfect, but it's not bad. You know, if I zoom out now, you've always got to remember, what is it going to look like? If it's that big in a SketchUp, it does what it's meant to do perfectly. So, you know, if it's just going to be a small image, you can cut some corners. Always think about what will it look like at that scale. You know, clearly there are jump rings, clearly it is connected. But it's quite a nice way of just bringing a sketch into a model just in 2 or 3 minutes to give it that sense of context. So that's something you might do with some of your jewelry ideas. Again, don't do it with all of them. Other things we might do is with our page of drawings. Again, especially if you've scanned them or photographed them and brought them into your page, into Photoshop, we can then play around with them a bit more. And I'm going to do that with some of these. First thing I'm going to do is go up to the top of my screen and just go to Image at the top. Sorry, that's cropped off for you. And Canvas Size. And all I'm going to do is press this left arrow here. What I want to do is extend my page out to the right to give me a bit more white space. I'm going to put it in centimeters so I know what I'm working with. So this is width 89 centimeters by 116 high. So I might just make it, you know, 130 centimeters wide. Because I've pressed that left arrow and see all the arrows are pointing outwards, I'm only adjusting the width. So hopefully, and it's saying my background color is white, click OK, and I've just added a bit more space for me to work. It's really good when you're making alterations or, you know, you're doing different things to drawings, you know, to copy it, show that you're refining it, not just do it all on that one drawing, you know, create a duplicate of it, show that you're refining it, tweaking it and changing it. So I'm going to do exactly what I did before with the necklace. I'm just going to copy it across. So really roughly, just so I don't select anything else that I don't want to. I can't get around it with a square selection box. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it in. Probably paste on top of where you copied it from. But I've got another object now over there like so. First thing I was going to do is look at these connections and say, actually, you know, I've drawn all of these like they're not connected. But I might want to give it a sense of it being like glass, for example. So I'm going to create a new layer. Down the bottom right hand corner, if you hover your mouse over it, it should pop up. It says create new layer. Again, I think that's cut off the screen that's recording for me, but it's just this plus in a square there. And you see we've got a new layer. So I'm just going to work on this new layer because what that will enable me to do is adjust it. If I make a mistake, I can just delete it and I've not damaged the drawing underneath. It's a bit like working on tracing paper. So again, just use the polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to zoom in really close and I'm just going to try and connect these areas up. So I'm just working in those pen lines, those black areas there like so. Okay, and I'm just going to join it up. So I'll do something like that. So I've now got this custom selection area. Next, I'm just going to go to my Paintbrush tool. Down on the left hand side, we're going to select any colour we want. And I want to get something which just feels a bit sort of like a glass blue, something like that. I've now got my paintbrush and can start painting it in. What I'm going to do is just right click, or if you don't have a right click, it's often shift and click, or just up at the top when you're using your brush tool, you can see where it says size up here. Just make it a bit bigger. So I'm just going to fill that in with the paintbrush. Oh, fill it in like so. Obviously what you will notice is that I've gone over the top of all of my other lines, and that looks a bit messy really. So on that layer, just above it where it says normal, I might just go and select one of these other different selection zones. So I know that multiply is going to work really nicely. You might try one or two of the others, but I know multiply will work really well. I can then adjust the opacity if I want, so I might bring it down a little bit like that. Let's go for 50%. So it now feels quite glass-like. I'm now going to do the same at the top really quickly. And in these black areas, the paint doesn't show. Okay, so you don't need to worry about how neatly you go around it. Obviously you can zoom in really close to it very precisely, but it won't show up on the black. So you see where I drew over before, we can't see it in that black area like so when we've set it to multiply. Do exactly the same thing, just paint it in. Now, this layer is already set to 50%, so it should just do that automatically. So now all of a sudden I've got these kind of glass-like bits in the side, so these kind of feel like they're connected a little bit more than they were. I might want to give the impression that these are an interior space, a space where people could be within. So over here I've got a series of kind of silhouettes. I've obviously taken from vector stock, just from Googling. And what I might do is just select one of the figures. So again, I'm just going to use my magic wand tool, a nice easy silhouette. If you need to join extra bits on, you can press shift and select. So you can select multiple areas. I might just select this chap here for now. I'm going to copy it, go back over into here and paste him in. Again, just make sure show transform controls is on, but I might just scale him down. Okay, be able to then move him, just hit the enter key, and we can then place him in various different positions. So I might place him inside there, like so. I'll put him, he's on a new layer, just behind the glass, so hopefully it feels like he's sitting within it a little bit more, especially if he's not completely black. Alright, go back to my layer 3, I might just make a copy, layer 3, if I just press the option key, I might just drag, I'm dragging the wrong thing. What I don't need to do if I just move him onto the top layer first, so I'm not accidentally picking up the other layer. Just select him, press my option key, drag him out. Should be there like so. And then I might just place one or two figures around the space. So I might go back in, select one or two of the others. So why not this pair here? Enter. Made them purposefully a little bit smaller because what I might like to do is put them out in the distance over there. So quite quickly now, I've given this drawing a sense of scale. By placing a figure within it, giving it these glass feeling areas, it now suddenly feels a bit more architectural. And I might do that with one or two other of my drawings, just give them a sense of being slightly more architectural. Giving them a sense of scale, giving them a sense of where light comes into the openings and closings. You know, I'm looking at this shape here and thinking, wouldn't that be amazing if that's one big window and this is like a balcony, gigantic, tall balcony. I might even think about putting a tree on the inside. You know, it gives you an opportunity to be really imaginative and creative. So do have a little go and a little play with that. In future tutorials, we'll have a look at doing some slightly more complex things. You know, adding shadows onto the figures so it gives things a sense of grounding. Adding further colour, rendering up some of your drawings. But we'll do that in a second video so that this one isn't too long. Wish you all the best of luck with it. Do go through the video, pause it, have a go, have a play with some of these things yourself. Best of luck.